Good evening and welcome to another episode of Metropolis, a podcast including guests talking all about the world of pop culture from the past week, or in our case, the last 2 weeks, as we skipped a week last week, didn't we, Matt? This week, we are delighted to be joined by a member of Legacy Comix. That's Steve Cange. That's Cange, the Cange. He is an artist on for Legacy Comix, and we look forward to hearing all about his background and how he got involved with Legacy just recently. So look forward to speaking to Steve and talking about some of the stories that have caught our eye over the last couple of weeks. But Matt, where can all the viewers and listeners find us?
Well, you can now find it. You're possibly watching this on YouTube or maybe Facebook. If you've not tried it yet, watch us on Twitch, because that's a recent addition that we've put on there and just trying it out. So check it out and see how we get on. Otherwise, if you like listening to us, you can listen to us on Amazon, on Spotify, on Google, on Apple, all of the usual places. You can find us there. And if you love us so much, you want to hear about it every single day, check us out on Instagram, check us out on Twitter as well. And you can see these lovely faces on a daily basis. But first, this.
Hello and welcome to This Week in Metropolis.
Hello and welcome to This Week in Metropolis, and welcome, most importantly, to our guest for this week's episode, Steve Cange. Steve, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Good man. Matt, do you want to kick the conversation off with Steve while I'm sorting stuff out in the background?
Well, what I first need to address, I think, is, and Shade's made a comment already, and he's referred to us as this fortnight in Metropolis, because obviously we weren't here last week. And just to add a bit of perspective, I actually booked a gig last week. I was going to see a concert. It was a band that I liked many years ago because it made me feel old. It was the 30th anniversary of their album. It was a band called the Lemonheads, who are an indie band, early 90s.
The Lemonheads.
Really liked them. I was looking forward to it. I was really looking forward to this gig because I'd never seen them before. Mm-hmm. What it turned into was the worst gig I've ever seen in my life. Ivan Dandone, the lead singer in the Lemonheads, came in. There was sort of like this weird 1950s song playing, and then he was miming to it and sort of dancing around.
Why?
And then when he no sign of the band, it was just him and his guitar, and he just droned like from one song to another. He was absolutely wasted. Like beyond hope. And
wow.
I ended up staying for 30 minutes and I just couldn't bear to watch it anymore. So
that's
the lesson to me is don't miss an episode, because that sort of thing happens, doesn't it?
That'll teach you.
Yeah.
Indeed. And what I just want to say is I actually went on a show last week. I was on Triple G's show last week. Hope he can join us at some point. And I had several of the guests on that show asking to be your fill-in for last week, but they just, unfortunately, as much as I love them all, they don't match the chemistry that we share, Matt.
There you go.
I'm not replaceable. That's good. Exactly. You can't break up the family. Don't try it. No, I was just going to say, so Steve, this is all about you for the next half an hour. So just to kick us off, if any of the listeners aren't aware of you and aren't aware of your work, just if you could give us a quick introduction to yourself.
Well, my name is Steve Cange, born and raised in Brooklyn, New York. I love comic books. I love the art. I love the story. I'm not only an artist, I'm actually a writer as well. I'm developing a couple of things here and there. I started when, like most of us, when we were kids, like you fall in love with this stuff because it's an escape. You read these things and these people can fly and they could shoot beams out their eyes. They could do these miraculous things. And you're just like, wow, I wish I could do these things. So you fall in love with the artwork, you fall in love with the stories, and then I wanted to do it. And then, Image Comics blew up. And I was like, wait, you don't have to be part of Marvel and DC. You can do your own thing. Oh my God, And then, I got hooked up with my friends, and we all would huddle in an attic, and we would tell stories. We would record them, and we're like, yeah, we're going to be the next Image. And it went from like 10 guys to 5 guys to 3 guys to me. So I gave up a couple of times here and there, but then the 10-year-old in me was just like, no, let's just keep going. Let's just keep going. Let's see what happens. And then, I ran into Patrick and Legacy, and we can get into that in a minute, but that's pretty much in a nutshell, my story real quick.
I did read it.
Sorry, Matt, go on.
Sorry, James. I was just going to say, I read it. You're touching upon what you've just said. I read an interview with you, and where you were saying that it took you a while to really capture that thing that was inside, and almost sort of. I'm paraphrasing what you said. I can't remember your exact words, but it's almost like become at peace with that thing and that like creative.
You know what it is?
Thing.
It not to cut you off. What it is that we allow fear to hold us, and then because when you're young, you have no fear. Everything's out the window. Yeah. Like you're young, you think you could jump out the window and survive. When you get older, you have to do the responsible thing. No one can make money doing comic books. Go get a job. And that's what you did. You bottled up your dreams, you put it on a shelf, and you kept it going. But then every now and then you would look on the shelf, and you would see and then you would like, hey, your 10-year-old self be like, you want to take that off of there? And you like, okay, let's try. And then you try it, and something happens, and you say, see, I'm not supposed to do it. And this would be a constant thing until you get that moment, that real moment when you're like, oh my God, I can actually do this. And then what happened was the technology kind of caught up with my imagination. So now I do more digital than I do traditional. And it's so much faster and so much quicker, and it's so much, I can't even describe it. I still do traditional, don't get me wrong, the basis of it, but I love what you can do with the digital aspect of everything, But yeah, it's something that I allowed to take over for too long.
But what I love, what we've found with comic book creators, rather than just artists or writers, is that story. I mean, we had a good friend. I grew up, one of my best friends, I would say, who's been on our show before, had exactly the same story from 10 years ago.
Yeah.
When we were growing up, he had that same vision in his head of particular characters. Yes, it wasn't defined at that time, but he had at least the template in his mind of a story about some superheroes that weren't Superman and Batman. They were these made-up characters. And now, I mean, it would have been in the last 5 years, so, into his mid-30s, he's put that down. He said, I was never a good artist. I needed to find someone to put my ideas onto paper. And now he's got, what's he on now, Matt? Like 4 or 5 issues now with the Secret Protectors. And to physically hold that, and I don't know if you're the same, Steve, but the first time he physically held that copy
smell the book.
It was, he said, like nothing else.
It has no other feeling except like the only thing that surpassed it was my son being born. That's it. It's like, it's that same feeling because it's like, it's something you've worked on for so long. And I'm imagining your friend just crying when that first print just he handed in his book. And it doesn't matter if it's good or if it's bad in whoever's opinion. It doesn't matter because you did it. They can have their opinion all day long, but you took the chance, you went and you did it. So congrats to him. And the thing is, I make sure when I go to these cons, I don't go to DC. I don't go to Marvel. I don't even go to Image. These guys don't need my money. I go to the guys like myself who have a booth, who are hustling their books. And I've met some of the greatest artists and creators that way. And these guys are my friends now. We talk on Instagram. I pick their brains because I'm reaching up to that level where I'll have my stuff laid out and I'll be at New York Comic Con, and that's one of my goals, and have all my books there. And I'm working on a massive graphic novel that I've been writing for like over 30 years. You know, it's evolved as I originally read the original and I was like, oh God, this is awful. it's the building blocks of where it was to what it is now. Yeah. And as a matter of fact, this is the artwork for it right here.
Wow.
I don't know if you can see.
I was going to say, is that Cure for Utopia?
Utopia, yes. This is Cure for Utopia. People have been asking me for it. They're like, because I've been promoting it for the last 15 years. And they're like, where is this book that you're always talking about? And I'm just curating it, and it has to be that moment. I'm not saying the right time, because there's never a right time. Yeah. But when the book hits, I want it to hit hard. I want everybody to be like, wow, this is what he's been working on for so long. And even if it only sells 7 copies and I'm stuck with like 1,000 copies, I can say I created a 250-page graphic novel. Yeah,
I think it's an incredible story as well. I've had a look, and it's something I've thought about before, and I'm not trying to take credit for this, but it's a really interesting concept that sort of, what if you're at that point where, you know, I think you've listed like global warming is good and all of these things are fine and everyone's okay. What then? Almost like what's going to happen? Yeah, what's going to happen? And what's life like?
Right?
Would you be happy?
Like? Especially if you're in that space where you remember what the world was like beforehand. It's not like these kids grew up in it and this is their generation. You can remember what the world was like beforehand, and you may be sitting around going worried, like, oh my God, we may go back to that. You know, I remember when I was a kid, I was 5 and everything was hell, and now I'm good, but I'm scared that it'll go back and my kid won't know what it was like back then. So it's a story that I'm really, really want to drop, and the ending, and people are not going to expect the ending. People are not going to expect certain things in the middle. I just really can't wait for the world to see it. But right now I'm with Legacy, and those are my guys.
Well, but before we get into the Legacy chat, there's an audience here that
okay.
It's almost like we designed the audience for you, Steve, because
the comic book guys have turned up.
As Matt mentioned earlier, Shane from Dawn of Comics is on the show, and congrats to Shane as well. He won, which we revealed after the end of the last episode. He won our prize draw and is now the proud owner of a This Week in Metropolis limited edition. Yeah. So well done, Shane.
And he loves your microphone. He also commented that.
Sorry. Hello, Connie. Another comic book
Hello,
fan.
everyone. Hello, everyone in the chat. Hi.
Super jealous of Steve's red mic. There you go, Shane. We've also
you too can own this mic.
Exactly. Limited
Steve
edition.
will be giving it away at the end of the show.
Not this particular one.
No.
I can get you one.
We've also got Triple G Comics. Peter is in the house. Hello, Triple Peter.
G.
Evening.
G
and Martin from Sonic's Comics, another comic book fan who will also be on our show coming soon.
Okay.
And we have also got Phil from Phil's Nerdiverse and from the Nerdhook Comic Book Club. Their show is on tomorrow night at 9:30. Make sure you go and check that out. But Steve, you mentioned it just before we introduced all the people that are live watching us at the moment, but Legacy Comix. So we had Patrick Hickey Jr. on the show many, many moons ago now, it feels. Before
about a year ago, I would have thought.
Yeah, but it was before he'd actually joined Legacy or set up. I think he was kind of...
Yeah, he's the owner. Yeah, he started setting it up. Yeah.
And his plan was always, what he shared with us at the time is he'd written books, he'd done voiceover, and he'd been in games and things like that. Absolutely. And he said to us, I want to be able to sort of go into a game shop and get a game with me in it and get a book and get a comic book. And he had this sort of list almost that he was talking to us about. So it's interesting seeing that take place and that sort of take form as such.
So how did you get involved with that, Steve?
Oh, the funny thing is that there is it goes back to I support. So I walk into my local LCS, my local comic book shop, and it's Bulletproof Comics. Shout out to them in Brooklyn, one of the biggest and oldest comic book stores in Brooklyn. I walked in, and the owner, Hank, he's like, "Oh, we're doing a signing." And I'm like, "Oh, cool. What are we doing?" And he was like, "Oh, I got these guys back here, blah, 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 Legacy." And I was like, and I don't know if he was calling it Legacy then yet. I think they were just doing Conjury is one of the books, which wasn't under Legacy yet.
No.
So I walked in and I'm like, "Oh, this is cool." I'm like, "Oh, what is this?" Da, da, da. And I'm like, "Okay, I'll take this. And they're like, "Oh, okay." And I'm like, I'm a completionist. I can't just like, "Oh, I'll take this one." I'm like, "No, what cover is this?" "Okay, I need this cover, this cover, this cover, this cover." And I'm like, "I need everybody to sign it," and stuff like that. And I take pictures, and we started talking. So then fast forward a few months, me and Patrick are just talking, whatever, and he's saying that he's putting Legacy together, and we have a company. And matter of fact, he did already said that they started Legacy, right? So then they were like, there was a book they were coming out with called Croom, and they wanted an exclusive cover for. So they were like, would you like to do it? I said, you know what? Going back to what we talked about before, fear. This is not the first time somebody asked me to do a cover. And I was like, okay, I'm tired of saying no and coming up with excuses, so let me just do it. So I did it, and then I sent him the black and whites, and he was like, "Oh my God, I love it." Da, 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 da. I was like, "Great." And he was like, I said, "Who are you going to get to color it?" He was like, "You." And I was like, "What are you talking about? I don't color." And he was like, "Well, you're going to color this." And I was
You
like,
do now.
I said, "No, I don't." I was petrified of color. To me, color was another language. It might as well have been a totally different language, whatever. And Pat was like, "You know what? If it bombs, I'll tell you. If it looks like crayons, if it looks like, my daughter colored it, then I'll let you know and we'll move on." So I said, okay. So I sat with it. How you doing? I sat with it and I was like, okay, how does he want this? So he sent me references, Doom, all these different colors, whatever. And I said, okay, break it down. See how it looks. What colors are used? Use Photoshop, use Clip Studio, pick the colors, see what's going on. And then I just went to work, boom, boom, boom. And then it just started flowing naturally. And I'm like, and I'm watching dudes on YouTube. I call it YouTube University. I go on there. I've learned more from YouTube than I did in college. So I go on there and I see colorists and their style and what they're doing. And I'm like, okay, so at the end we'll do this and do that, and boom. So I send it to him. He loses his mind. He's like, "Oh my God, what is this?" And he was like, "Who did you get to color this?" And I'm like, "I colored it." And he was like, "See, you never know what you can do." And now all I see is color. Every place I go, if I'm gonna color something, I'm like, how's the living? Like, I just did the job one, and breaking news, I'm done. I finished number one. We're going to print soon. I'm working on number two. But like, I'll look in my living room and I'll see how the colors work in it. And I'm like, and I apply that to the living room in the book. And I watch a movie. Now I look at colors way different. Like right now, I'm looking at the colors of your eyes. I'm like, ew. I think he has contacts on. Like, now I need to make a character with eyes like him.
We're going to see James in the job too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
James will just walk by, just show his eyes and keep it going. Have a little timeout moment. So it's a different thing. It's lighting. Like, I'm looking over at you and I'm looking at the way the lighting structure is. It's color now for me. And lighting and everything. So it's just great. And when Pat saw it, he was like, great and stuff. And then I was like, cool. So I thought that was it. I thought, okay, we're done, whatever. So he pitches to me the job. And I'm like, I like this story. And he was like, you want to do it? And I was like, yeah, let's do it. Yeah. And I sent him some concepts and some ideas because they already did the job zero. And Kieran, he did amazing job on it. Don't get me wrong. Like, it was just amazing. But I was like, you know what? I want to put my flavor to it. I want to see. And then I started manipulating and playing with colors, and you'll see it in the book. Like it's just really fun, and is
that difficult? Sorry to interrupt. Is it difficult when you mentioned Kieran there? Is that Kieran Quinn?
Yeah.
So is that difficult when someone's already kind of started doing something? Do you have to kind of follow it to some extent?
To some extent, like if you see the main character's Dan's his hair, that's his hair, is his style, and his lady, Bev, that's her style. Like she has a style, but then you throw in your own little mix of it. You throw in your own little style of it. There's certain characters that were never seen before, so I get to create those characters and how they look, so which was great, so yeah, it's harder, but it's like anyone else. If you notice, like if you look at Batman's 80 years old, all right, everybody's done Batman, but you can tell a Todd McFarlane Batman, you could tell a Jim Lee Batman, you could tell an artist throws their flavor, a Greg Capullo Batman. Even though Greg does the same capes kind of like Todd, it's still Greg Capullo's version. Yeah. So you can tell the difference. Certain people like certain other things. Like I like the bat logo across his chest rather than the circle with the bat in it. I just think the larger logo was just cool. So if I ever got a chance to draw him, I would draw him like that. So, and that would be my particular style and stuff. So it is, but it isn't at the same time, if that makes any sense.
There's a good comment here we've had from Highland G, and hello again to Highland G. Thanks for joining us. He says here, I love when colorists consider the light source and not just the overall colours. It adds life to the image. And I think that's a perfect description, again, of what you're saying. And one of the questions, and I'll move on to Matt in a minute, because I can tell he's probably got a couple of questions as well, being a keen artist himself.
Right.
But one of the questions I was thinking there, do you see it differently now when you're watching, not just in comics, when you're watching a film, are you now paying more attention to things in that as well?
Yeah. Everything. It's like a light bulb went off.
Yeah.
It's everything. My wife hates watching TV with me. She's like, stop analyzing and this, that, and the other. Like, that's all I do now. Like, that's in my head. Like, I just look at stuff, and because I'm still learning. Yeah. Like I'm not a top colorist. I'm looking at other colorists, and I'm looking at them and like, wow, look at this. Look how they did this. And I'm trying to find my style. And even the lighting may not be exact, because for me, I don't like realism. Like I want my comics to be comics. If I wanted realistic things, I'd look at an actual painting of someone and stuff like that, or a photograph of them. I like my comics to look like comic books. The sketchy sometimes look of certain things, or unfinished here, or this, that, and the other, or the anatomy's not exactly the same. It's a comic book. Like we don't need perfect. This guy is jacked. Okay, he doesn't need it to show every portion of his muscles. He's just big. Okay, so I like my comics to be comics. So and that's it. And I see it, like you said, in everything now. Everything.
I think one of the things that bring it to a different piece of work that you've done, Renfield, which I sort of read over the weekend. I get a two-part question with it, or a comment from me. I love the fact that it went from really dark or like really simple, like some pages were just red and black, and then you've got some other pages where there's where he's sitting on the bed. It's him sitting on the bed and he has the bird. And then there's sort of like blues and oranges almost. It's almost like a sunrise.
Right.
And the sort of combination of colours. So you've got that real contrast from dark to sort of, you're almost like this sort of hope in there. Is it harder to do simplicity as such? How do you find that when, like in one of the scenes in Renfield, which for the listeners, if you're not aware, it's a Legacy Comix sort of release that is about a minor character in Bram Stoker's Dracula. So, which I love as well. It's great when you're sort of plucking someone out of a well-known thing and sort of bringing life to it. And there's one page where it is just sort of he's meeting this sort of evil character as such.
Right.
How do you make it look so sinister, but only use
you're talking about the red page, right?
Yeah,
that was actually, and Pat's gonna kill me. I'm sorry, Pat. when you watch this, I should have mentioned Renfield was the next book I did before the job. Was the Ash Can of Renfield. He came to me with the idea of Renfield, and I got the script and I was reading it, and it said he entered the room, you know, and I was like, this is the first page I got to do. I did that page first, and then when I did it, I was like, I want it to be all reds. So I put different reds in it and this. And if you notice in the corner, I don't know if you notice it, when you look at it, you'll see in the background is a reflection of Dracula's castle when he's coming in. So if you go back and you look at it, it's there when he's approaching. And I said, what I wanted it to do was like, no light is coming in, but that red. You know, like, you know, when, you know, vampires have a problem with sunlight and stuff. So he kind of comes in and drains the light.
Yeah,
like
so being consumed.
Right.
By
He's
him,
so powerful. Like in my head, like I try to, even though I have a story in front of me, I try to create a little story in my head. So it's like this version of Dracula to me, you know, when he comes in, he's so powerful. The light he just bends it out of his way, you know, and it's just like, okay, I'm here. It's all red. The sunlight will not bother me. It's kind of like, you know, when they say like kryptonite is Superman's you know, Achilles heel, but if he sits in the sun and absorbs so much radiation, kryptonite does nothing to him. So I was playing with that in my head. And as far as the contrast with the color, one of that page that you're talking about, which I loved, was the bird. Because even Pat didn't know, because when I sent him the black and whites, he was like, oh, this is nice, I like this. But when I sent him the color version, the bird is so bright and beautiful. Yeah. When it comes in, and he's like, oh, this is, everybody's like, and then he just
tears it apart.
Right. He crushes this beautiful bird. And in the script, it says that he destroys beauty, you know, and that's what I wanted to relay. Like, this guy is no joke. And we've had people keep telling us, they're like, yo, are you going to continue this? Like, we want to see more of this story. And if we do continue the story, I'd like to do a different twist on it. You know, I already spoke to Pat about it, about my idea on it. And we spoke to another person and they were like, oh, I would love to read that. That sounds amazing. Yeah. Because we've told the story of Dracula. You know, it's been told several times and just need a little twist on it. But yeah, I love doing it. It was amazing. And it was amazing to see it come to life. And like you said, when you get it printed in your hand and we opened that box and I grabbed the first issue and I was like, I signed it myself and kept it.
Yeah. Amazing. Yeah. Well, I've just seen we've got Chris from Off My Shelves, who is another huge comic book
Chris,
fan.
What's going
on? He's saying, I was just reading extracts on your website. Quinn's art is amazing, and the cover art on the job #1 is absolute fire. You've got some talented people over at Legacy.
Which of course was your work, Steve.
Job #1. I like, when it comes to my covers, if you look at Renfield and you look at the job, I like to tell the story a little bit about what's going on inside the book. Yeah. And when you open it, you're like, oh, I get this. He did this. Yeah. And I get this. Oh, I get this part of the cover. And he did this. You know, one of my pet peeves in comics is I hate it when the cover art is amazing. And then you open the inside and it's like, this guy didn't do this. It's like, you got me hooked with the cover. But when I go inside, it's just not him. And I'm not saying it's bad art. It's just you hooked me with this art. And I was looking forward to this particular artwork. So I want to go back to that time. But yeah, I appreciate that with the coloring. The coloring was something that I'm trying to evolve. Like, I'm trying to make my own signature where people go, yeah, that's a Cange right there. Like, I like that, you know?
What would you long term, Steve? I mean, if you could look kind of 10, 20 years into the future, would you love to see some of your, I mean, this is kind of really kind of dreaming, but would you love to see him be on the screen? Would you love to someone to pick it up?
Is that not the goal?
It's interesting because
right. Because some people they don't want it. I must admit, some people don't. But me, yes. Yeah. Because it's beyond. It's like, okay. It's like when I watched, you know, Disney Plus or HBO Max. and you see these characters that you grew up with, and you're like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care what nobody say. I geeked out when I saw Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman, the Trinity, together, standing there. And say what you want about the movie, but I saw them, the three of them there, and I was like, oh my God, I just geeked out. So I have stories that I want to geek out about, my story. And I want some kid growing up to go, he starts geeking out about my stories, and it inspires him or her or them to continue to push their dreams. You know, and that's what I want. Like, yeah, definitely. I would love, I have like 12 scripts that I've written over the years, 12 or 13 different scripts. And hopefully I get to do every last one of them.
That's amazing. That is amazing. Well, growing up, did you, you mentioned before, you know, we all grew up reading comics and so forth and falling in love with them superheroes. I mean, was you more of a DC guy? Was you a Marvel guy growing up? Who was your favorite characters?
I was more DC. I was a Batman guy because it always appealed to me that, yeah, he's rich, but this guy is like toe to toe with some of the greatest superheroes of all time. Like, when you think about DC Comics, you see Batman, he's standing there with Superman and Wonder Woman and this, that, and the other, and then you're just like, yo, dude, you're just a normal guy, you know, but most of these people are scared of you. You know, it's like, you know, and he uses his brain a lot. Like, it's his mind that puts him above everybody else. You know, everybody in most of the superhero lore, they use their powers more than anything else. They rely on their powers, and his was his brain, you know. And I love that. But I dipped and dabbled in Marvel and DC. I love the stuff, you know. So I was a big Spider-Man head, especially when McFarlane took over. I was all over it because he redefined Spider-Man. Like, everybody does the spaghetti webs now because of him. They all double, triple join him because of him. You know, so he said something that was prolific to me. He said, don't do me. Don't be the next me, be the next you. Invent something else to push the envelope, to push that thing. So yeah, definitely go back what you're saying. I 100% want my stuff on the screen. Small screen, big screen, well, let's go. Whatever it is.
Excuse me. And an interesting thing you saying that Todd McFarlane. How do you feel about, well, firstly, how did you feel about Spawn when that went to the big screen? But also, how do you feel about it potentially coming back? Because it's sort of rumored that it will be.
I, first of all, am a big Spawn fan. I have literally every single Spawn book. I have books that you shouldn't even have. I have them. I am in the comic world. I'm known as the King Spawn. Like, I have every single Spawn book. But as far as your question with the movie, it was a kids. We didn't care. Like, it was, you know, it was great. Does it hold up? Yeah. You know,
I watched it recently.
Right.
And it's like,
it's try watching He-Man now. You'll really be upset.
Yeah.
But all right, try watching the old He-Man. But it was for what it was for the time.
Yeah.
Now we move forward to the time now. Stuff has evolved, stuff has changed. What he's trying to do is make it more of a horror type situation. I don't know what the script is, but if they ground it, if they don't kill you with the special effects, you know, it could be a great movie. The story's really good because at the end of the day, it's a love story. You know, the guy, he did things he wasn't supposed to do as a mercenary, whatever, during thing. He went to hell. He all he wanted to do was see his wife again. And the devil tricked him. And he was like, okay, you can see it, but it's 10 years later. She's got a kid, she's got a husband, and this. You saw her, and now you work for me. So it's a tale that's been told, but it's been told in a different light. So it's like, I honestly can't wait to see it, really. I want to see what they do with it. I really do. And I hope I listen, any comic book stuff that come out, I'm a fan of because I want it to succeed. I know there's people out there that oh my God, DC fails. They have the football. I don't want to hear none of that. I don't want to hear Marvel's failing. I want it all to succeed because this is our childhood.
Yeah.
So
I agree. I think DC is potentially on the corner of and I think this coming Friday when Black Adam comes out.
I'm gonna
And well, do you know what? I mean, I wasn't that excited about it when
Right.
it was announced. You know, I
Right.
love The Rock. I'm a huge wrestling fan from my
But
youth.
he's The Rock in everything.
He's Dwayne The Rock Johnson every time.
He
But what I
knows
love-
his limitations. I think that's
Right.
part of his
He
success,
plays
though,
it
isn't it?
right.
He knows
You
what
say
he can do, and he does it.
You say that, but I mean, didn't he do a sequel to? Was he in Get Short or something like that? And he was quite funny. in that.
That's the funny thing is that that's the movie I always point to everybody. Get Shorty, is that he played somebody outside of himself, and he was actually good. And I'm like, why doesn't he do that more often?
Yeah.
You know,
And
but
even the Jumanji films, I think he takes the piss out of himself a bit as a big macho kid.
The football one that comes to mind. The
exactly.
So
what I've loved hearing this week, he's been doing obviously a lot of press for the Black Adam release, and how passionate he is about DC and what I think the same as all of us. We've all kind of grown up, and we might love both. We might love them all. We might just love DC. We might just love Marvel. But the fact is, he was a kid once, and again had that kind of connection with one of the brands, and he wants to see it turn, and he's so passionate. You can hear the way he's talking about it.
And now he gets to fly.
Yeah. It's The Rock.
Imagine
flying.
that.
Yeah.
You get to fly.
Yeah.
Like, wow.
but it's him talking about Superman and how he really wants Henry Cavill in to play Superman
man.
again.
Oh,
Superman.
he looks like Superman. He sounds like Superman. He flies like Superman. Like he's Superman to me.
Are you excited for the film, Steve?
I am excited. I wish certain spoilers weren't dropped beforehand. I was looking
Superman one?
I was looking forward to it, but it's not stopping me from going to see it. Like I said, I root for all of these, whether it's DC, whether it's Marvel, whether it's the Sonyverse, which is a whole other subject. But I want them to succeed, because if they fail and keep on failing, they're going away. They're just gonna go away, and we will never see them again. And then we're gonna cry, talking about what happened to our movies. Well, you didn't go see it.
You didn't watch it. Yeah, that's it. And I think that's a really nice perspective to have on it, because I think we're at that point where it is, and we speak a lot about this, with things like Disney Plus, it is so saturated. There's so much there, and you can't be complacent. You can't think, oh, that's rubbish, or whatever, because the entertainment industry or the business is a fickle thing. As soon as they get onto the next thing that people like, they will make lots of that. And
you're going to get a bunch of rom-coms, and you're going to be mad.
Yeah, that's it.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And I think this is actually a good moment to bring up She-Hulk, because we're talking about crying and people's opinions on it. I posted my 1 minute review, which is very difficult to do, a 1 minute review.
You look like you were in pain. Like, it was hilarious.
Do you know what, Steve? I had to, after finishing that episode, I had to pull it back a bit, just as the big fight was about to kick off.
Right.
Watch it again. And I'm sat there, and I get to the end of it, and I'm like, I don't get it.
I can explain it. Have you ever read a She-Hulk book from the 90s?
No, and this is the thing. I think what I've found from fellow people who are in the comments tonight, the general response to it was actually quite positive, because it followed the comics quite closely. Am I right in thinking there was a comic where she actually came out of the panels?
Oh no, she did it all the time. She did. She was one of the first characters to realize that she was in a comic book. So she's actually been late for work, put on her clothes, and walked through a panel to her job. And the people sitting there be like, "Oh, I didn't see you there," And she's like, "Yeah." And she's ripped pages. Like, she's fighting somebody, and she's like, "This guy's an idiot. Why would you put him in here with me?" And rip the page. So they kept it to brand. Like the way she is. Is it as goofy and stuff? No. But you know what it is that with the show, I knew what I was walking into.
Yeah.
I knew exactly what I was walking into. I
think that's the difference.
Right. I knew it was a comedy. I knew, even if I never read a She-Hulk book, I read the synopsis. I saw the trailers. I was like, okay, they're going the whole comedy lawyer route, whatever. Cool. I'm in. Let me sit down and watch this. Were there some episodes I was like, okay, this was kind of funny. This wasn't, blah, 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 this and that. The episode that I thought that they really like landed the end of was when she got upset. You know, when they hacked her phone and she hulked out, and I was like, whoa.
So that was the penultimate episode, the one where Daredevil was first in it.
Right.
And I agree. And I think that was kind of what filled me. I think the series had kind of moved along at a steady pace.
And you thought it was gonna that episode was gonna springboard to something else.
Yeah.
And I get what they were trying to do, because I heard somewhere along the line that the creator, the showrunner, said they were actually trolling people. And I'm like, you spent how much money to troll people? You know what I'm saying? Like, but my thing is that you can say that, but at the same time, was it great? No. Will I watch it again? Probably not. But was I entertained? Absolutely. Did I sit down? Did they catch me when they paused it and I thought something happened to my Disney Plus? Yo, I laughed so hard. I'm not even gonna lie to you. I was like, what? I was like, what happened? I'm looking for my remote control. I'm like, oh, and then she goes, and she busts out of the thing. I was like, you gotta be kidding me.
And Matt, just to describe it, Matt, because you obviously haven't seen it, but I don't know if you've read about it, but literally...
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you saw it already.
No.
Sorry.
I've watched the first episode and the third.
Oh,
no, I've not
You're
watched
just skipping around. You just don't even care.
I'll watch the last one and then I'll be done. Yeah.
I see that. It's all coming to this big,
No,
it
it's
feels
not.
like
But
a big...
if you realize what she said in the show, she said that Marvel has a habit of doing that. You get this big climactic, the bad guy fights the bad guy, and this, that, and the other. So they're making fun of themselves. And I'm like, I get that. I don't think you should have spent this much money to do it, but I get that. And you use She-Hulk, who's a meta character already, who's worse than Deadpool. She's worse than Deadpool. Deadpool knows. Yeah, Deadpool knows. She knows. Like, I would love to see the two of them interact. Like, but
well, that's one of my questions to you, I guess. Do you think that this could lead on to her being a part of the bigger MCU?
I think so. I think it can.
Do you have to incorporate that then?
Right, they would have to incorporate that. But if you listen, see, a lot of people didn't listen. If you listen to what Kevin said, you'll never do this again. We fixed that glitch. So you won't be coming back in here again doing that. So I was like, I found it funny. Did I like the way it concluded with just boom, all of a sudden it just ended? No. Okay, you want your regular, but the thing is, we're so used to these big climactic endings from Marvel. You know, it's like, oh, the bad guy fights the bad guy. And to Marvel's non-credit, like, they're not really good with bad guys. Like, they really one and done a lot of bad guys that they should have just kept going, you know? And I hope that they figure that portion out, because like I said, I want it all to succeed. So let's continue it. So when it came to that, I thought it was a brilliant jump to try to do it. Will it land with everybody? No. Maybe 10 years from now, people will call it brilliant. You know, realistically, there are people that hated Empire Strikes Back. If you look back at the critics and you read what the critics wrote about it, they called it terrible. Oh God, they're destroying Star Wars and blah, blah, blah. Now it's the most loved. A lot of people love it more than anything else. So you never know. You just never know.
Good point.
Well, we've got a new person joining the comics, and just to highlight, James Copley.
I did give him away.
There you go.
Yeah,
is that someone you know, Steve?
Hey, James, how you doing? Thank you for joining us.
James, I've seen on Triple G's channel. So
welcome, James.
From that Triple G has brought with him. What's Phil just said about Empire? Because Empire Strikes Back and Star Wars overall is pants. Phil is an anti-Star Wars
You
person.
can't listen. Everybody's entitled to their opinion, and you don't get me wrong.
Exactly.
You don't like Star Wars, that's fine.
But
But
get
you-
out of my show.
You need this stuff to
But you're
succeed.
wrong.
No,
That's the,
yeah. Listen, I need Phil to buy my books. Listen, no, I will never say somebody's wrong about their opinion. It is your opinion. You're entitled to it. But I will always stick to the point that this stuff needs to succeed and continue to succeed. Everybody saying, "Oh, Star Wars is dead," and this, that, and the other. No, they just need a little good kick in the butt. Some of the shows are good. Keep it pushing, keep it going forward. Star Trek, Star Wars, I don't care what it is. Anything sci-fi related, comic book related, go for it. Keep it pushing.
Exactly.
So I think this is a good time, as we're talking about shows, to talk about Werewolf by Night.
Wow. I done a review of this. Did you see that review, Steve? Because that was really positive.
I only like the ones when you feel bad.
Matt, you've seen it?
Yes, I watched it the other night.
Yeah.
See, I may be slightly controversial with what I'm going to say. I was really looking forward to it, and I loved the style of it. I really sort of bought into that, but I don't know. For me, where it was short, I thought maybe it was a little bit too short. For me, it felt a bit rushed in that sort of, without spoiling it for anyone, like you was introduced to this thing, and then it sort of took
They should have saw it already.
Took it very true. So
Spoiler warning.
Yeah, you found out that they were doing this sort of competition. They were killing each other and so on. And you found out he was a monster, and then he's a werewolf, and then this happens, and then you're done. And then it ends in that weird buddy movie sort of sense,
Right.
and everything's in color. I was like, maybe I need to watch it again because
you don't. You know why?
I didn't dislike it. I enjoyed it, and it was a good experience. So I just felt
that's the point.
Yeah, that's it.
That
It was good.
point.
It was good. Yeah.
Because if you notice, Werewolf by Night was a morsel, a little tidbit. It was a special. They threw it out there. They're testing the waters. They wanted to see how it would react. Boom, they got their reaction. Now you're probably going to get a little more.
Yeah.
Because remember, they're building this monster verse. They're building, because they got Blade, they got Bloodstone, they got all of these, monster. They got Hagatha. They got all of this magic stuff coming. So they're testing the waters right now, and I'm glad they stuck the landing with this show. Like, I didn't even plan on watching it, to tell you the truth, because I was just like, okay, I need something to watch. My friend, my nephew actually was like, "Oh, did you watch it?" I was like, "Really? Was it that good?" He was like, "Watch it. Call me back." My nephew is into manga, heavy, and he got a taste of American comics, and now he has his first short box full of comics. I called his mother, and I was like, "You need to make room in the garage because it's about to get crazy." He was like, "Okay." So we started talking about Werewolf by Night and everything else. So it's great. I enjoyed it. I love the color that they just flashed here and there. My favorite scene, I think, was when he slashed the guy, and then the blood splattered, but it was rolling off the screen.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it was mimicking the door closing at the same time.
Did you not think as well, Matt, and you, Steve, like, for me, I was just surprised how graphic it was in regards to how gore it was, because that, for me, was levels above what we've seen in other, in any of the MCU, really. And it made me think that potentially future Deadpool, Daredevil, if they want to go down that road, I don't think they will, but they could do now. And I think it just opens it up a little bit, because we were all worried about particular characters being taken over into the Disney MCU. But now, watching this, that was one of the highlights for me. Just the throat slashed. And
Oh no, the sword.
Yeah, and she gave it some of that as well.
They have to go down there.
Yeah,
your books are like this.
Yeah.
You have to go, because you have to understand the maturity level of the people. I understand you want to get butts in the seats. I get that. All right, but you have to understand you have to know the maturity level of your audience. They're not stupid. Okay, like,
Yeah.
okay, you had Wolverine for decades slashing people with no blood. It was like he has the adamantium claws and nothing's happening. And I'm like, this makes no sense whatsoever to me. So stop dumbing stuff down. If you think it needs an R rating, throw the R, but don't do the R rating just for R rating's sake. Like, I'm about to say something that most people are gonna hate me for. I didn't like Logan.
Okay.
I didn't enjoy Logan. For the simple fact, to me, it was just F-bomb after F-bomb after F-bomb for F-bomb's sake. And then I didn't really like the end. Don't get me wrong. Loved Hugh Jackman. He's great. You know, I'm glad he's coming back for a last one, but didn't enjoy it as much as I thought I would. Loved the young lady who played X-23.
Yeah.
And it was great. But the ending to me didn't land, and the cursing was just over the top. Too much. Because you had an R rating, we could drop the F every chance we get. And it was just like, no, let's just do a story. And
you say that both sides, Steve, don't you? Again, with like, one of my criticisms of some of the Marvel movies is that sometimes there's too many jokes for joke's sake. And literally, you could flip it on its head that way.
I hate, brother, you hit it on the head. The jokes, I saw Thor, Love and Thunder. I paid good money to see this movie, and I paid for a friend of mine who was his birthday. He was on his phone playing Scrabble the whole time.
Yeah.
The whole time. And
I fell asleep during some of it.
Bro, I was so mad I couldn't sleep. I was so upset because they took a character that I love. Let's look at the moment. How many times have you watched, and I bet you this, and people in the chat can go with me with this, how many times have you watched What a Blunder? Yeah, exactly. How many times have you watched when the Avengers were down, everything's go, and that lightning or the rainbow bridge comes in and he goes, "Where's Thanos?" And you're just like, "Oh my God, that's my Thor."
Yeah.
That's my Thor. Not this Joker that they put together, but
they've made him an idiot.
Yeah, they made him this is the king of Asgard. Like, if you read Donny Cates' run on Thor, it's amazing. Like, he is not playing no games. Like, yes, every now and then he'll crack a joke, this, that, and the other. And then Thor, what's his name? Gore the God Butcher. Are you kidding me? This is the God Butcher. I expected him.
I liked him in that. I did like the way they portrayed him until the end. And then it was just like,
I thought he was going to drop into that place where everybody was, all the gods, and start wrecking shop. I thought he used Thor to get in. Like, I could have wrote this a little better. I'm sorry. You get him, he travels with Thor, he jumps in, and he just starts wrecking shop. You know, but that's not what they did. And I heard, I don't know how true this is, I heard that there was an actual musical number with him that they didn't put in. Look it up. I swear to you.
I might as well have chucked that in.
But that's what I said. Now I want to see it. Now I want to see it. Like, stop with the comedy. You did Werewolf by Night can prove you could do serious. You can do serious, and you could do comedy, but not over the top comedy.
Yeah. I think just wrapping up on the Werewolf by Night, I actually scored it on Pete's show 9 out of 10. For me, it was fantastic. Yeah. The only thing it didn't make it a 10 is because I wanted more. and if it, throw on an extra half an hour, I would have probably pushed it up to a 10. But that, I think, could be the perfect sort of sweet spot. I mean, you and I, Matt, talk about all the time with having a young family. I know by the time the kids are in bed and I'm not doing a podcast on a Tuesday night, I've only got a small window of time to watch a film if I want to sit down and commit to that. Right. So having a 50 to an hour show, perfect. If it's 2.5 hours, it's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen. To be continued.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. No, I understand what you're saying, but if you get these shows and it's just good and you want more. That's what you want. That's what you want from a show. You want more. You don't want the person, I'll come back to it and completely forget about it. And because right now we're in the microwavable phase of this world, like instantaneous gratification. I can go online and watch whatever I want, when I want it, how I want it. I don't even have cable in here anymore. Everything is streaming. I took the box out. I'm good. So I don't even want anything with commercials. Upsets me now. So I am very privileged at this point. All right.
Oh, I think we've lost Steve. Steve is frozen. I mean, unless he's just really happy. Hopefully, if Steve
is he recreating the moment from She-Hulk that you were just talking about a moment ago?
Going into the multiverse to do stuff. We'll carry on while Steve. Hopefully, Steve. Maybe if I kick him out, Matt, and then he can hopefully rejoin us. Let's see if that works. Steve, if you're listening, rejoin us quickly.
But we
Matt.
can talk about some of the comments. I was going to say, let's talk about. So Highland G said they're bringing characters to the lowest denominator and creating funny part films rather than truly exploring the characters. Yeah, I do think that's the case. And I guess, like saying Werewolf by Night, I think that's the positive from it. What it reminded me of very slightly was League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. I know that's something that is... Hey, he's back. He's back.
He's back.
I don't know. I saw circles with you two, and I'm like, should I leave? Should I stay? And then it just kicked me out. I was like, oh.
We kicked you out to hope that you could then come back in.
Okay.
So
I was like,
the gamble worked.
What happened? So you'll just edit that.
Well, we won't bother, to be honest. That's
I know. Yeah, no, it's all good.
I was just saying that Werewolf by Night reminded me a little bit, and it was just off of, just to bring in Steve, Highland G's comment, saying they're bringing characters in and just creating funny films rather than exploring the characters. What League for Extraordinary Gentlemen, which I've already upset Triple G with by even mentioning it. I like that film, and I like the film because of the mix and the characters in it, and that's what
I enjoyed it. I owned it on DVD.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a
Come
film
at me, Triple.
But do buy his book.
But buy his book first. Yeah.
Buy my book first, yeah.
But it's one exactly. It's an easy watch. If it's on, if I'm putting the TV on late at night and it's on, I'll watch it.
Right.
The similarities between that and Werewolf by Night, in terms of there was lots of these different characters and lots of these quite diverse characters.
Right.
And I'd like to know more. I'd like to know more about who they are and why they got there and that sort of thing. And that's sort of when the similarity was. But yeah, it's a great film.
Yeah.
Oh,
Every
God.
day's carried on. The comic is amazing. The movie is poop. There we go.
There we go. No, that's the quote of the show.
The thing is that, like I said, I keep harping on this, but you need all of this stuff to succeed. You know, Werewolf by Night is something that they tested. It got rave reviews on both sides of the critics, plus the comic book fans love it. And you know what's crazy is that it caught me because I try to not watch the reviews, or I try not to watch the spoilers before I watch a show. So when they reveal who the werewolf was, I'm like, they got me. You know? And I might be a dummy.
I mean, I didn't know.
You know, so they caught me, and I was like, good, they got me, because I didn't know what was going on. I don't know why he couldn't touch the jewel and why it lit up when he walked past it, you know, and stuff like little things like that you catch, you know, and then, you know, especially a Man Thing. Oh my God, like
amazing.
Oh, I liked him, and just with the subtlety of the eyes. You know, you could tell he's angry, he's sad, you know. It was just really, really a good
and
show.
that was there was an element of humor with that as well, wasn't there? Because when she sees him and calls him
right, exactly. But it's sprinkled in. Yeah. You know, it's not bombarded like they did with Thor. Like they just, it's like, okay, I said this all the time. When you're a great director or a writer, whatever, sometimes your ego might get in the way, and you got to be reeled back.
Mhm.
And you should have somebody there to go, yeah, no. You know, like, because if I don't understand how Thor, not to keep harping on this movie, I don't understand how it got past like anybody.
Mhm.
Like when they sat, because it was just like, when you're sitting there watching it, if I'm the guy that gives the green light to send this out, I'm sitting there like, what did I just watch?
Mhm.
And the only thing I liked about it, which me and my friend laugh about this all the time, is the goats.
Yeah.
I
the goats.
hate the fact I like them. I hate myself for liking them. You
I
know?
tell you what, I don't know if you've watched it. I really enjoy on Disney Plus the Marvel Assembled or whatever it
Yes.
is, the behind the scenes.
I love behind the scenes.
And when I
everything.
actually watched the making of that film and the history of the Thor franchise, let's
Yeah.
call it did make me kind of appreciate it a little bit more. But then I know if I watched it again, I'd be still annoyed. But you've got to see how, you know.
But because I think what happened was is that what you saw in the making of that film wasn't what they stuck to. Because we all know, as filmmakers or as you know, as you know, even with you guys podcasting and things like that, you watch movies. You know, an editor can destroy a movie. All right. Perfect example was the original Suicide Squad. From what I'm hearing, the original cut is something amazing, and I would love to see this movie. You know, look at the Justice League movies. You know, when we got the Snyder cut, I sat through that 4 hours. I sat through it. I don't care what no one says. I sat through it. I've watched it 3 times.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
I've watched it 3 times because that is his original vision. And for me, when they flushed out Cyborg, I was like, oh my God, look at this. And you don't realize how powerful Cyborg is. You're like, this guy can destroy the world if he felt like it. And nobody would know because he'd be in his room just plugged into the world. And but the fact that they showed him give this woman money. And then another thing that really got to my heart was that the woman that played the mother, they cut her completely out of the original. But when they went and they went back and they showed her, she never saw it. So she just gotten mad love from people. And she's getting hit after hit after hit on her Instagram and stuff. And that was just amazing to me.
It's weird that you've just brought that up, actually, because literally before we came online, I was flicking through YouTube and a clip came up from the dream scene with Batman and the Joker.
I'm telling you, your phones are. Don't talk around your phones. I'm telling you.
It's really
they know what you want before you know it.
Oh God, do they? But again, I just watched that back. There's just that 5-minute clip, and I was just like, it's
works.
incredible, really. What
if DC would have went the route they were supposed to, and if you read what they were supposed to do with these Justice League movies, they would have beat the MCU to this whole time travel thing, because the Justice League was supposed to lose the dark side, and the world was supposed to be crap. And they used when Flash came back, when he says, "Is it too soon? I'm too soon." That's because he's coming from that world that's pure garbage, and that hellish world that you see. So I wanted to see that movie.
Yeah,
I don't need the jokey jokes and the laughing ha ha ha. That's not my Justice League. My Justice League are people that are serious. This is God level fighting right now. That's why I didn't have a problem with Man of Steel, because I got tired of Superman fighting the bald-headed guy with the rock, with the green rock. I need buildings falling everywhere. I need Dragon Ball Z level fighting. And if you're dumb enough to stay in a building while these two guys are fighting, that's your business. Okay. Oh, well, the people are in the building, they're dying. You're dumb enough to stay in there. You're gonna die. Right?
Steve, you've probably seen it in the comments, but Triple G said, "Can I just say I'm loving Steve. His energy and enthusiasm are great. I'll be buying your book. Also, Thor was uber poop."
Yeah, it was.
I'd have to agree with that. You're very.
We all agree.
We
are in unison. or it was poop. I will never watch it again.
Well, I think it's a good place to sort of finish off as we're getting the requests of where can we buy your books, by the way.
You
In
guys
the comments,
go over to Legacy Comix with an X, legacycomics.com, and you can go shopping. We are there. You can get Renfield. You can get the Job Zero to set you up for the Job 1. It's going to be a ride and a half. All right, Job 1, Job 2, 3, 4. As long as he has me, I'm gonna keep going with these books, you know. And that's where you can go. You can, if you guys want to, you can follow me as well. Just a quick story. I've been in Facebook purgatory. I got hacked, so then Facebook goes into Instagram, goes into Messenger. So I had to recreate everything. So the best way to get me is on my Instagram is Steve.Cange, Cange. My full name, and I'll be changing it to the Cange soon.
Yeah.
Patent pending. And then that's where you guys can get me.
And we've included all of the links to you in the comments here. So if you check that out, you can get straight to Legacy Comix, you can get straight to Steve and so on. But yeah, it's been fantastic.
No,
James,
it's been fantastic. Yeah, you can check out my Instagram. Listen, there's nothing on it right now. I got like maybe 5 or 6, I don't even know, videos up and a couple of my artwork up there. I have to repopularize stuff on there. So please forgive me. It is me. It's not a joke. I'm not trying to scam. I got somebody, oh, you're scamming. You're not Steve. I'm like, yes, I am. Please follow. So, yeah, definitely.
No, we encourage people to do that, Steve, and again, get following Legacy Comix as well to see some of the stuff. And
I'm definitely following you guys. It's amazing what you're doing. I wish you all the best. Like, I want to see you guys like in your own studio and doing this on a regular basis. Like you say, you go to your job and say, I quit.
That is the dream.
Well, when we do, Steve, we'll be having you on the show to thank you.
But I'm gonna need my 10%.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. But this episode has absolutely flown by. I feel like we've barely touched the surface on things.
My wife says I need a job talking. So when you guys blow up, I need to be on there.
We'll have to get you and we'll have to get Patrick back on the show. Maybe we can get you both on in the future. But, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much to all the people that have joined us as well. And I can already see that Connie, Triple G, Phil, they're all saying,
thank you so much, guys. I appreciate you so much.
Following you along. But until next week, Matt, who have we got joined us next week? Do we even know?
I have no idea. I'm completely out of sync. Someone will be here. Someone else will probably.
I'll get someone else. Steve, what are you doing next week? You can be my
listen, I'll be the third host. Not a problem. let's get it cracking.
Until next week, we will see you all soon.
I hope you enjoyed that episode as much as we did. Don't forget to like and subscribe so that you don't miss any of our future episodes.
Yeah, and you can also follow us on all social media. So you can find us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok.